Hello everybody, Astocky here and welcome to the start of what's going to be a new series for my Technicality version 4 pack that's currently, well I guess you could say it's being released. It's in its final beta phase, just a couple of config tweaks. So the first thing I'm going to do is show you how to install it. So the first thing you have to do is click add a pack and then type in the pack code, which is anjstockwell, and then hit save. You can see I've already added the pack, so it's there. For those of you who have installed it previously, here it is. It is just here. So what you want to do then is you want to create yourself a new instance. You can call it whatever you want, but the current latest version is 4 beta 2. So that is the version that I'm going to be installing. Now when you click install, it comes up just like this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of the optional mods. Totally up to you whether you install them or not. Doesn't change your gameplay except for Thaumcraft 4. Forge Multipart, Fastcraft, and Optifine don't really change the gameplay in any substantial way. For those of you who saw my last video, which is a bit of a teaser for this, the only thing that was missing from the mod list when I did that was Better Bedrock Gen. Somehow I had completely forgotten to actually put that in there. But you can see from the list of mods here, Baubles, Bibliocraft, Blood Magic, Britannia, Buildcraft, Buildcraft Editions, Additional Buildcraft Objects, Compatibility, Eureka, Carpenter's Blocks, Dimensional Anchors, Ender IO, Extra Utilities, Forestry, Mine Tweaker. I've added Mod Tweaker as well, because there's just a bunch of cross-mod integration stuff that I want to really get to as part of getting these configs finalized. How much I'm actually going to get done, I'm not completely sure, but there's some ideas that I have. I just want to kind of play with the balance a little bit before I make it public. Not enough items, Pam's Clay Spawn, Railcraft, Redstone Paste, the NEI plugin for Thaumcraft, Forbidden Magic, which adds a whole lot of cross-mod compatibility for Thaumcraft, Blood Magic, Britannia, and a few others. What am I looking at? And Witchery. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to very quickly pause the video, and I'll be back in just a second to show you the install. So why did I pause there, you might wonder? Well, what I wanted to do is I just wanted to make sure from when I had previously installed the pack that I had deleted Fastcraft and Optifine, just because I want to show you what will happen when you go to install those. So when we click install, you'll see that it does the regular downloading resources. It'll download all the libraries that it needs. It'll download all the mods that it needs. There's only 2 in particular that are different. This is the first one. So this is Fastcraft, and it's a link from the suggested download server for the actual mod. So then you just have to tell it where to put it, which in this case, Games, Astocky Team Launcher Downloads is where I've got it saved. So you click save just there, and you can see that it has now saved it. And so once it's saved it, you click I have downloaded this file. It does a hash check on it to make sure it's the correct version and that you've got the file in the right spot. And then it brings up the next one. This will sometimes happen with AdFly. If it does, you just have to reload the page and then it seems to just work. I don't entirely know what causes it. It's one of the updates to Chrome seems to have done something that makes that happen. And then you have the same thing for Optifine. We just download it, save it to the same place, and then click I've downloaded it. It then downloads the configs, make sure you've got everything set up, and then you're good to go. So just quickly before I open this up, I'll just talk about some of the things that I have done in terms of the config. So I've updated the Ender IO config so that when you have the Staff of Travelling or you use the Ender Sword with the travelling option, you can actually travel twice as far now, so up to 256 blocks. The standard right-click jump is still the same, and the standard travel anchor to travel anchor is still the same. The next thing that I've done is I have tweaked extra utilities to turn off the generators, because the power system from that just totally overloads everything else, and it's just a bit crazy. For the Imbus chunk loading or the dimensional anchors, I had done the tweak to make sure that it actually uses fuel for the chunk loaders to work, and I've also got it configured, which is the default configuration anyway, that pipes and other items can't connect to it, so you have to manually load things in. That's a way to help people out there who run servers to make sure that it doesn't happen like that. There's also a config option you can set as a server owner that I haven't got set, which every time the server starts, it automatically creates a file and saves a list of where all the chunk loaders are that are active, just so that you can have that kind of information. So that's pretty cool. Coming down a little bit, I have changed the Thorncraft config just slightly. What I've done is I have turned the research mode to easy, and I'll explain what that means a bit later on as I go through the series, but basically it means that instead of having to go to the research table and actually map out the aspects that take you from each of the points that you need to kind of link together to get a discovery, all the discoveries are bought with just an aspect price. The reason I've gone with that, it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. For those of you who don't want that, I'll quickly show you how to change it so that you can change it and fix it for yourself. Everything's going to be a bit too big for a little while. Basically, the option that you want to change is the option called Research Difficulty just here, and you want to change that to be a 0. The reason I have gone for this easy one is because what pretty much everybody does that I've seen anyway is they basically just go to the online Thorncraft research helper, type in what they want, and it tells them what to do, and then they just do it. And that, I think, kind of defeats the purpose of doing it, and you may as well just have it on easy mode. Easy mode, there's set aspects, and you use a certain amount of each aspect for each purchase, so it makes you kind of have to still plan the way that you go through the tech tree to make sure that you, I guess, don't waste too many aspects on things you don't need, but it makes it a little bit easier. And the final thing that I've done is I've gone to Ender.io and I've updated a VAT recipe. I'll just show you what it is anyway. I've got a VAT recipe now, so that when you put netherrack and cobblestone in and firewater, you can get a bucket of lava out. For those of you who need lava for whatever reason and have an abundance of power, you can do that. Firewater itself is worth 1.2 million Minecraft joules. No, RF. And doing some rough math and some rough calculation on how much a bucket of lava burns in a furnace for versus how long coal burns for, and how much energy you'd have a Stirling generator, I worked out it's about 900k for the worth of lava. So using a tad over 1.2 million, so I figure that's fairly fair, fairly balanced. I've also added a couple of sag mill recipes. Witchery, when you smelt gold ore in one of the silver vats, has a chance of dropping ingredient 157, which is silver dust. It's about a 23% chance based on I guess some bulk lots that I've done and kind of averaged down. So what I did is I gave you about half of that with the sag mill to give the same output. That way you can use your sag system, have gold going through it automatically, and still get the silver dust that you might need for witchery, but you'll only get half as much. If you actually use the 3 silver vat setup, you actually get more than 50%, so this really is quite a drop compared to what you can get, but at least it means you can get some. The other thing that I did is I added ways from the Thorncraft Silverwood log and the Thorncraft Quicksilver to get the same ingredient with variable chances, just because I figured that was a good way to do a bit of crossover for the different mods. The final thing that I've done is I've added some scripts in. I showed you previously in just about all my packs. Now they have it set up so using the Buildcraft integration table, you can actually integrate a chipset with a gear and get the next level of gear up. So an iron gear plus a gold chipset gives you gold gear, gold plus, sorry, the iron gear here is actually a iron chipset plus a stone gear. To get a gold gear, it's an iron gear plus a gold chipset. To get a diamond gear, it's a gold gear plus a diamond chipset. So that's a way, once you get to that stage and you have your lasers set up and you have everything going, you can save yourself a bit of resources. I have my standard vanilla recipes in here, which is by making a cobblestone mold, so 7 blocks of cobblestone like upside down pants, and then a bucket of water and a bucket of lava, You can make obsidian, just for those of you who don't have a diamond pick or think diamond picks are a waste of time and effort, and don't want to bother making your nether portal by casting into a mold. I've also put 2 gravel together, can give you a flint. That's just for convenience, so you don't have to place it. I've also got a recipe here that you can make glowstone from redstone and blaze powder. Not a particularly useful recipe, that one. It just gives you a way of making renewable glowstone without having to hunt down a whole lot of witches. This file is empty, as you can see. The one that I've added most recently, what it does is it removes the railcraft nugget to ingot recipes, and adds a nugget to forestry ingot recipes. Basically what this whole setup here is about doing is about making sure you've only got one kind of nugget, one kind of ingot, and one kind of block that you'll actually have for copper and tin and lead. And the reason for doing that is just so that you don't get bogged down with having, oh look, I've got 4 different kinds of copper. So only one ore will spawn, but depending on whether you process it in a railcraft machine or whatever, it gives you a different item. So if at any stage you get a railcraft ingot, you can turn it back to nuggets. That will turn it into Thorncraft nuggets, which is the kind of nugget that I've gone for. And then you can turn it back into an ingot again, and it'll turn into the correct forestry ingot. Blocks are always railcraft because it's the only mod that adds copper and tin blocks, but then they'll automatically turn back into forestry ingots when you turn it back. Also, if for whatever reason you get a railcraft nugget and you don't have enough to actually make a full ingot, if you just place that in your crafting table by itself, it'll automatically transfer to be the correct kind of Thorncraft nugget. So that way, that should help clean everything up and neaten it all up a little bit. Not a whole lot of work for me, and I think it'll make a big difference once you start getting the pack going in terms of just slots in your inventory taken up and things like that. So I've pretty much run everything through in terms of what you need to see there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click play, and I'll bring this up, and I will come back in just a second once it's loaded. Back soon. Okay, so here I am back in Minecraft. So what I'm going to do now is talk you through the options that I think are definitely worth changing. So the first thing you're going to see when you open it up, you've got 2 conflicts of controls. So the first thing that I would do is I would go to your inventory tweaks and find a key that you like that's not R, that doesn't conflict with Ender IO. I like the grave key, or the tilde, depending on where in the world you live. The other one is the miscellaneous wand toggle from Thorncraft 4. I just like to change that to semicolon because that works really well for me. So that fixes that. The next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to change your video settings to be what you want them to do. So I like a far view distance, but normal is good. Always change advanced OpenGL to fast. That makes a huge difference to how things go. If you have a single core CPU, go for smooth. If you have a multi-core, always go for multi-core. It makes such a difference. And then finally, the only other thing I would suggest to change is in the performance setting. Turn smooth FPS on. Smooth world really makes no difference. As you can see, it's really only effective for local worlds and single core CPUs, so you may as well turn that off. I don't preload chunks. I do load far, I do dynamic updates, and I do fast math, and I also change the chunk updates to 3. Lowers the average frame rate you get, particularly on game load up a bit, but it gets all the chunks that it needs loaded in much more quickly, which then kind of settles down to a smoother gameplay. Now this one at the bottom here, I mentioned it in the last video, this is really important to turn off if you're having any kind of issues with how things render graphically. Things like chests, things like item frames, certain particle effects with mods, other things like that can glitch and go a bit funky. So definitely I find turning that off makes a big difference. And that should pretty much be it. That should pretty much be all you need. Some people like to have this cranked right up. I like the brightness at 50%, but again, they're kind of just optional things. I'm also going to go for normal GUI this time, just because I know it's a little bit harder to see on the video if you're watching on a phone or something like that, but it makes it a little bit easier for me. So if there's people who are having issues with it, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to keep it just like that. So we're going to create a new world now. I'm going to call this Technicality 4. I am going to turn cheats on because I always do. I'm still undecided if I want mob griefing on or off, so I always turn it on just in case. And I have a seed for this world. I've written it down to make sure that it is a good seed. Minus 910 932 014. Good seed, good world. Let's create. So, not going to pause the video here. I'm just going to let it run. My little FPS counter has dropped down to basically nothing because it's not refreshing the screen, and now we're back locked at 60. And the world is loaded. We'll open up our little engineering diary. So there we have the magical biome. Here we've got some cows. You know, all good things. So, as with every Minecraft video, I'm going to punch some wood. Just going to get one little lot of oak wood. Then I'm going to get one little lot of birch wood. And then, pretty much at that point, I'm not going to do too much else. This is basically going to be the end of this first video. I guess you guys are just going to have to tune in and watch the next video if you want to see where things go from getting wood. The only thing that I'm going to say that I'm going to try and do, sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't, sometimes I'm kind of, you know, very strict about it, other times I just forget, and it does tend to mess up a bit when you go, you know, offline mode or things like that when you're having issues. But what I really want to do is try and go through the achievements. So the next one I need is bench making, but you've also now got Britannia achievements. So get the first one of those, and then you've got buildcraft achievements. So I need to make a stone gear. So those are the 3 sets of achievements that you can get, and I'm going to try and get as many of them as I can, just because that seems like a good thing to do. So I hope this has been a bit of an informative start to the series. Hopefully you guys like this sieve. For those of you who like Thorncraft 4, Magical Biome, you can't get much better a start than that. And we're only a short distance away from a swamp for slimes, an extreme hills biome for emeralds, and this is a massive forest just here. So pretty much got everything I think you can need in Minecraft. So hopefully you guys are interested in watching and seeing where things go. So until next time, thanks so much for watching. Astocky out.